height elevation first. Let's do that first. Then we can go from there. Then we can go right down the list of wants and say, well, I really like that elevated deck. You know, I have an 8x16 deck, pressure treated in my backyard, and it was great for years and years and years. But, you know, it's 15 years old, and I'd love to have, you know, a 12x20 elevated deck in the back. Well, if you have the budget, that's a great investment. If you don't, you can do it later. I'd love to enclose the entire downstairs and put 2 garages and have a foyer and have an interior entrance and the whole thing, but I don't have the extra money right now. Okay, well, the one thing that you can't change after the fact is the height of the house. The height of the house, you're never going to lift the house again. If you go to base flood +3, you are never going to say, wow, I wish we would have lifted up so we could drive underneath. Let me lift the house again so I can get, you know, a downstairs. That just doesn't happen. But all the other things, they can wait. So I think the important thing is, let's get to the point where the flood insurance rates are as low as they can be. You've totally mitigated your flood risk. If you're 9 feet off grade and water gets in your house, well, that means that Route 37, Hooper Avenue's underwater. That means that the whole world's underwater. So you don't have to worry about that. Once you get up to a full elevation off grade, okay, now there's no flood risk, and your flood insurance is as low as it's going. So at that point, you can pick and choose what you want to do next. Okay, so the height of the elevation, that's really important. Let me just touch quickly on what to do to get started. One of the most important things that needs to be done initially is a soil evaluation, a soil boring. You need to do a soil boring to see if you can elevate your existing house with its foundation. If the soil is strong enough, can you add to your existing foundation? Or if the soil is bad, do you have to elevate the house, knock out the foundation, and do pilings or helical pilings or something? So at the start of every project, that's the first thing we do. We do a soil boring. From there, we can design a foundation and then give direction about how it goes. Generally, we know from doing work up and down the shore, we know certain areas we're going to have to do pilings, and we say that right up front. Sometimes it's unclear whether or not. Even on the island, on the Barrier Island, Seaside, Long Beach Island, sometimes we'll get closer to the bay, we definitely have to do pilings, but as you get to the center of the island, Long Beach Boulevard or Central Avenue and Seaside, those houses don't need pilings. Those houses are on concrete foundations, and they're fine. The soil's fine. So soil boring is really the first step. And once again, we do all of this. One of the biggest reasons we have the seminar is to show that we bring a team concept. We have a lot of people that work with us. We're all professionals. We're trying to offer a solution where you don't have to worry about the 1,000 details, and you have somebody that can handle the soil analysis, the engineering, the architectural, the elevation, the construction, bring everything through to a CO. So those are some of the most important points. And one of the things Kathy touched on before, once again I'd like to elaborate slightly, is when you're evaluating a contract or a scope of work, the important thing is your contractor or your builder going to bring your project to a certificate of occupancy? That's really important. Don't want to find out. We do estimates that are very straightforward. They say everything we're going to do, and we deliberately include all the things you need. One of the easiest ways for contractors to defraud people is to not include things like sheetrock, landscaping, things that you will need for a CO. So you want to be very clear that you're signing a contract with the scope of work. You want to say to your builder or your general contractor, listen, this is all great, I understand this, but at the end of this deal, are you going to get me a CO? Or am I going to be hit somewhere along? Are you going to tell me that something's not in here and you forgot something? Or am I going to be able to move back in my house? If I pay this much money, do I get this? You want to be very clear on that. That's one of the most common ways. The house will be up in the air, and the contractor comes to you and says, hey, this wasn't in the scope of work. We have to do this, that, and the other thing. We have to do a bigger foundation. We have to do helical pilings. And you're like, why didn't you tell me? Well, you know, I forgot it. I didn't know about it. Well, now you're stuck. So you want to be very clear about what it is that you are purchasing and what's included. Kevin touched on it, but that's an important point. Okay. Okay, I'm going to touch quickly on cost benefit of demolish or build new or lift, and then we'll let Jason have his time in the spotlight here. One of the biggest questions that we are faced with, and one of the most common analyses that we do is, do I lift my house or do I knock my house down and build a new house? And I just did a blog on Sunday. I think a copy of it is in here. And one of the things that I say, and what we have in one of our frequently asked questions on our website is, as a general rule, if your house is older than 20 years, if your house is one story, and if your house is a slab, most probably you should knock it down and build a new house. If your house is newer than 20 years old, and it's 2 stories, and it's on a crawl foundation, then it's very close whether you should elevate your existing home or you should demolish it and build a new home. So, those are general rules of thumb. Why would we want to demolish and build new? Well, in the last 17 years, the building codes have changed 5 times. We are building homes that are incredibly safer and more energy efficient than they were prior to even the year 1990. So, and the second biggest reason, other than the safety and the construction science, jumping back to energy efficiency, in the blog, I did a fiscal analysis last year or the year before, and I showed how if you built a new house, your energy savings in 7 or 8 years would pay for the difference between elevation and new construction. So let me say that again. If the elevation project all in is $125,000, and the new home, demolish and rebuild, is $175,000. So you say, well, it's $50,000. Yes, it's $50,000. If you save $300 a month in utility bills, in 7 or 8 years, just what you're saving in utility bills will come close to what it's costing you to build new. And your home is safer, and it's built better. So that's one of the most common things. Wow. And Jason and I talk about this. We talk about this. This is one of the most common things. Because we'll say, listen, you know, your house is built in the 60s or the 50s or the 40s. It's a bungalow. It's an old house. Why don't you knock it down and build new? And people will say, I love this house. This house has been in my family forever. I could never knock this house down. We do our soil analysis and we do the engineering and we do a complete estimate and we say, okay, well, the house is going to cost $140,000 to do this, and for $180,000 we can build you a new house. And then people look at those 2 numbers and say, I want the new house. So it is really, as long as you're under $40,000 or $50,000 difference between elevation and new home, like I said, if your home's older than 20 years, if it's a single story, if it's a slab, chances are you should demolish and build new. Okay. On that note, I will give you Jason Devought. Jason, please.
So I want to hear demolition, right?
No, you don't.
I'm Jason Devought, Devought House Lifters. My brother and I, we run the 3rd largest home elevation company in America. We're in Wisconsin, New Jersey, New York, and Texas. I just want to touch on what Vince just said. He's right. You really do need to, on any home, do a cost-benefit analysis. Is it worth it? Is it a home that is in such bad shape and it needs all these door noises and everything rebuilt? Yes or no? take a look. You should do an analysis either way. If you need to put in all helical pilings compared to wood pilings, right there it's very hard to make it feasible to elevate them. I'm going to go on Kathy's point, one of the points that she had, is that cargo insurance is very important. You want no matter who you hire. There's two types of insurance in our industry of elevation. There's cargo insurance and rigger's insurance. Rigger's insurance covers the structure, and cargo insurance covers the structure. However, you have cargo insurance and there's a natural disaster, they cover the home immediately, and in riggers they don't. They wait until you are found legally responsible for the home. So when you hire somebody to elevate a home, you want to make sure that cargo insurance, if there is, God forbid, anything happens, which we've never had anything happen, if there is anything that happens, you're covered immediately, as opposed to riggers, which you have to really put a while. And that's really important. And Kathy's right on the insurance. Make sure they have workers' comp insurance. With the home elevation law in New Jersey is only one of 2 states in America that make you have cargo insurance, and that is New York and New Jersey, which protects homeowners. But you want to make sure on any insurance, especially in this state, the home elevation contractor license lasts for 2 years. You want to make sure that any home elevation contractor is up to date on their insurance, because they don't check at the state. Once you renew, nobody checks. And we've seen lately, especially, it's a little bit of a smaller marketplace today than it was 2 years ago. There are companies going out of business and their insurance renewals came up and they didn't renew their insurance. Workers' comp, we feel, is a big thing. You should double check to make sure they have workers' comp insurance. And ask whether their employees are on the workers' comp policy. They have a workers' comp policy in name only. These all subcontractors, as in like 1099 of their employees, or they actually have all their employees on their books. We can certify our payroll. Our company, we can certify our payroll any day of the week. All our employees are on the books with overtime and everything else. There's only one state that we do not need to have workers' comp insurance, and that is the state of Texas. They have a waiver, but everywhere else in America, you need workers' comp insurance. On an elevation, what you should look for is a team, and we're like a plumber. What we do, we elevate the home, and we're like the superheroes. We come in that one day.
Everybody okay?
Yep. 1 to 3 days, we have the home elevated, and that seems to be the biggest part, but it really isn't. We're one step in the whole step process. It starts when you meet your general contractor and decide, is this the guy or is this the lady that I would like to spend the next 3 months or 12 months of my life with? Do I like them? Do they like me? Are they responsive to me? Do they seem responsible? Because the whole process takes a long time. Once we get into engineering, soil tests, permitting, we would hope would take 21 days, but it never does.
That's a lot.
You would hope that it would go quickly. So your general contractor or your team that you develop, that work with, you want to make sure that you can build a rapport with them, and it's not somebody that you don't want to spend time with, because you're going to spend a lot of time. There's a lot of steps along the way, and in a home elevation, there's a lot of gaps in the process where, hey, all of a sudden we need new sill plates, we need new heating ducts for this reason or that reason, because the way the structure had to be supported, we need to remove more things. So there's some gaps in the process that you don't know about until the home is elevated. You want to make sure you get a team behind you that can take care of everything, or as much as you need to take care of. And we see on homeowners can GC things, but they wouldn't realize how much it's actually costing them most of the time. All the private time that they have on the phone, making the phone calls, lining everybody up. It's easier when you work with a team and you have the home elevated and you're going to get the mason there next. The mason is someone you work with every day. The mason's going to be there and get it done quickly. Or maybe your engineer on the team is going to have to make a design change halfway through because something was found that needed to be changed. On the heights that you're elevating, that is the most important thing. I bid a home today. You're in over by Lavalette or Ortley. Seaside Park. I was in Ortley today at a home, and they lifted and they're 6 feet off the ground, and they were so happy, 3 years ago, but now they're going up again. And that is not something that doesn't happen often, because we do a lot of relifts years down the road. This one that we're going to be doing in Ortley is probably, I think, number 8 now. We're we lived in New Jersey. Somebody that wasn't happy with the height, and that's just kind of like not thinking that far through, like Vince said about those heights. And I would always go to a full height elevation, almost no matter what, for the full garage, make sure you have plenty of room. Unless you're in a neighborhood where it is not aesthetically pleasing for some reason or another, where you don't want to be completely out of the range of all your neighbors, but there are a lot of those that happen, so go with those heights. And hire, again on the record contract, we started another job today that is a rescue project, and we're finishing a project for a homeowner, and the GC they hired, home was elevated, home was set down, the GC didn't put in all the girders. So they did some bad stuff on the foundation. We are re-elevating the home, cost of the homeowner, and their GC, a new GC is coming in and putting in all the new girders. So, I mean, check your guy out or your girl out that's doing your work, that, you know, we feel like we don't need like a reference sheet of 1,000 people. We'll just, at our company anyway, it's the last jobs that we've done, the last 5, the last 10, last 20. We'll give you the homeowners. We don't vet our homeowners. Not all of them are 100% happy. I'm sure that some would have great things to say, and some wouldn't have great things to say. But we're open and honest about all of our customers. And there's, in the end, some homeowners on references, some homeowners may be unhappy with some small thing that has nothing to do with scope of work. Could be a mailbox that was touched, some stones that were touched. I heard one today, not about my company, but somebody else's, that the homeowners are very upset that the laborers were smoking underneath the house. Well, some things do happen with all of it, but as long as you keep your home locked up and have a responsive team that you're working with, you won't have an issue. But you have to have a little bit of give, and you know, not everybody's perfect. In my perfect world, every home would be elevated, and there'd be not a crack inside the home.
Don't touch the
And
bushes.
it came off of a perfectly level foundation, and it's set on a level foundation. But a lot of elevated homes, they may come off of they may have been built into 4 or 5 different pieces off of basically 4 or 5 foundations. They're all different heights, and when they come to set down, you know, they have to find their track on that new foundation and make it some cracking. And as to Vince's point, the least that's done in that house, the better. And if it is completely redone, if it's got granite countertops, you may want to loosen them up ahead of time and talk to the GC about some of those things. And if you have that beautiful tile floor that, you know, was so expensive, you may, you know, hopefully have a couple extra tiles, because there's a chance that setting that home on that foundation can cause a few cracks. And you want to be on a level foundation in the end and not a crooked foundation. And so there are some give and take with the elevation. And there is nothing wrong with demolishing a home and putting up a modular home or building a new home if that's what's better. And like I said, we really do do that cost benefit analysis. We believe in it. But as far as that elevation, any questions I can answer? You know, Joe, you must have 2 questions. But this team, Tim and Vince and Joe and Lou, working with for a long time. So on our end, it's good, all good people.
There she is.
But you want to have a team that you like.
Thank you, Jason. Jason, I should actually have Jason do this seminar first, because he touches on a really good point. I'm going to touch on a couple of them or elaborate on them. The time for a project, how long does it take for a project to happen? Well, there's pre-permit and then there's construction. So how long does a project take? Generally, the initial stages of the project, soil analysis, architectural, engineering, planning, that whole stage, and permitting takes anywhere from 2 to 4 months generally. We have people that we've been working with for 3 years that have trouble making decisions, but they're moving along, and we keep tweaking plans, and eventually we'll build something. That's not really common. It takes 2 to 4 months in the beginning. Once you get a permit, depending on the project, it takes between 4 and 8 months generally. So a simple elevation with no nonsense, no demolition of a foundation, 5 or 6 courses of block, 4-foot elevation. We've actually completed them in under 60 days from beginning to end. A house where it's a full height elevation and the entire foundation has to come out and helical piles have to be driven and a grade beam and then full concrete walls and the house has to be moved and reset and the whole 9 yards. That could be a 6-month or a 7-month project. New homes, generally because of the number of inspections, we're talking about you add a month or so to the entire cycle. Because in New Jersey requires 5 inspections by law, by state law. Toms River has 31, Brick has 32, Manahawkin has 28. It's insane. So you add a lot of time in New Jersey, keeps a lot of people employed. We build very safe houses here. They're inspected by 52,000 people. But those are the time frames that you should expect. Now, why is that important? Well, it's important to know for a number of reasons. But Jason touched on this. I've written a lot about this. You ultimately want to go with a team that you're comfortable with because you'll be interacting with them for quite a while. The relationship, forgetting about the relationship after it's done, which could last for years and years. We've sold houses to people, their kids, their parents, they move. We've sold 4 and 5 houses to people over 10 or 15 years. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about during the actual project itself, from the planning stages through to the end. Here you're talking about 8 or 10 months maybe, and it's better to pick, assuming the numbers are comparable and assuming skill levels and safety and efficiency and competency are comparable, you want to go with someone that you're comfortable with, you like communicating with. That's what you want to do, because you're going to be dealing with these people quite a bit. And Jason mentioned the team, but it's not just the person that initially you work with. It's not just the project manager. It's everyone in the company. It's the person that you're dealing with in the office. It's the person it's the owner. It's the project manager. It's the office manager. So you want to have a good feel about who you're dealing with, because you're going to be dealing with them for a while. There's another thing that I say. I've written a lot about it, but there's no construction project other than hanging a shelf in your closet that doesn't have problems. They don't exist. There are problems in every single project that's ever been built since the beginning of time. It's not the question of if there will be problems. It's the question of how will your team overcome the problems? Will they deal with them and just move along, or will they let the job stop? So if you ever speak to someone and they say, listen, we've done hundreds of houses, we've never had one problem. Well, that's a lie. That's a lie. Everything has a problem. Everything always has. It's 1,000 moving parts. Something will happen during the project. There will be an issue. It's not will there be an issue, it's how the team handles the issue. So that's much more important than trying to find somebody to say, there won't be any problems at all, don't worry about it. You don't want to hear that. You want somebody who's going to realistically say to you, listen, we've been doing this for a long time. There are unforeseen things, especially home elevations. Every single house that we live in, no matter you get under there, you look, you try and figure it out. Well, the house wasn't built to be flying off its foundation. So once it's hanging up there in the air, well, then you can really see what it is. Then you know what the situation is. Sometimes you can't see things. So it's not, are there going to be issues? The question is, how will the issues be addressed? And then one of the most important things, and when you're checking references, and again, there's some people it's very hard to get references from. We give references. We'll give you a sheet with 50 or 100 people. Jason will give you everybody who's ever done. You want to talk to people and say, did they finish your job? Did they finish the job? Did they get a CO? Did they address your issues? That's a very, very important point. Not how many you started, how many you finished. One of the biggest reasons that we've done so much REM work is we've done over 200 REM jobs, and we've finished all of them. All of the clients are living in their homes with COs, and REM has seen that we've done a lot of rescues, and Jason mentioned rescues. Rescues are a lot harder than starting a job from the beginning, because you have to come in to a house that's up in the air, and you have to assume responsibility and liability for the entire project. You have to now make every mistake right. So it's important to ask, oh really? Okay, so you've done all these jobs. Are all these people living in their houses, and do they have a CO? That's my point on that. Okay, and general contracting yourself, we've touched on it a few times. Believe me, that's not a self-serving statement. That is a practical warning. I don't know one that's gone well. I've seen a lot, and we have taken over projects from homeowners who have gotten into the middle of them and said, I can't get this done. I can't get contractors to show up. I can't move anything along. The other thing is, when you're dealing on a wholesale level, like if I deal with Jason 30 or 40 times a year, well, when I call him, this was true when we were dealing with him, even in the beginning. He's very responsive, so I shouldn't say that. But when I call him and I say, listen, we have a problem. Can you come out? Can you take care of this? Or can you move this up? Can you help me with this timeline? Well, I'm a client. I'm important to him. When I deal with an electrician and I give him 50 houses a year, I get great service and I get great pricing. When you're a homeowner and you deal with contractors directly, first of all, you're paying 20 to 40% more than a builder would pay. And second of all, you're not high on their priority list because you're giving them one job. So that's really something, there's something to be said for that. All right, well now I'm going to introduce Tim Tennis, who has decided to show up. Tim's our Vice President of Construction Operations, and Tim is going to say a few words about something. Yes, absolutely. Say hello.
A long day.
Yes, it has been a long day.
So you make me even get up.
Yes, you can get up.
Well, I've listened to everybody, and of course Jason, when you're elevating a house, I've dealt with them all, and he's our guy. And there's a reason for it, because I'm not the easiest guy to get along with on the construction sites. I demand a lot and I expect a lot, and we went through quite a few of them. Because a lot of them will leave yards destroyed, and which totally impressed me one time. They lifted a house and the homeowner said, "Oh, my countertop cracked." Jason said, "Well, let's get a price. Let's talk about it, and we'll take care of it," which totally blew my mind, because everybody else just said it's part of the game, and which that changed me about everything to do with anybody else, because especially some of the bigger guys, they don't care. They lift your house and they go. And I was hoping that when Texas came, he wasn't flying out the coop with only one crew. But yes, I mean the lifting and that part of it is he's our guy. And I don't even look anymore. So, but the other thing is like Vince was saying about the subcontractors, and you could try to think that it's easy to do the job yourself and come in and try to say, okay, well I could get an electrician to do this, and I spend all day. I'm up until 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night calling the subcontractors up and saying, where are you today? I mean, I just threw a guy off the job today. We've been dealing with him since a year and a half now. I said, you can't come. Don't show up. Don't leave. Don't come back again. Because if I tell you or somebody that they're going to get there today, and they don't, I feel like the idiot. And here's this guy that we're paying to do all our work, and doesn't show up. So it's a big process. It's a lot more than what everybody will tell you. Oh yeah, it's a contractor, and a contractor makes a phone call. And There's so many more elements to the whole situation. And there's a lot to it. And like they were talking about, the other thing that they talked about is how the house goes up. It looks just like this. It looks just like this. The average guy will walk around and say, oh, that's fine. But if this wasn't fake, there wouldn't be a crack there. There's nothing supporting that, but it's only fake. You know what I mean? A lot of times when they build these additions, they leave that, they let that on the ground, or they stuck a stick under it to hold it up, back on these older bungalows. And then we get it up and there's a crack there. Hey, this is no good, this is no good. And that's actually what happens. So I mean, and I don't know, I don't know whether I heard anybody say, beware, maybe when the budgeting the house, because let's not get tied up in, a few $1,000s or something that has to make your house correct. Instead of worrying about the tile floors, that's a structural issue, and a lot of them have them. A lot of them have them. You pull them up and you don't see all the termite damage because it's underneath the sill or it's blocked in when it goes up. It does happen. So there's no such estimate that actually comes in and somebody spent, unless they spend. If I spend a week at your house, I can give you to the penny. But other than that, nobody's going to do that because they're not sure that they're going to even write that estimate. Or 20 other guys come in and write the estimate. If you wanted to get a true value, that's different. But it happens. That's one of the major things that cost a person. I know, hey, I budgeted $120,000. Now it's $130, and I only have $120. And we do have a customer right now that he ran into some hard times. So now we're working with him, and it's very difficult because a lot of the things he needs are important. It's important things. I mean, his gas pipes were rotted in all the fittings were all rotted. He has 2 kids. I said, you're not going to put that. It's up in the air. It moved around a little bit. Why would you got to do something with that now? Let's do it now. I mean, that's your kids in the house. So they're the things that I run across that I see a lot, and which I bring to attention. I mean, aesthetics, again, everybody has an eye for something else, and for us to go in there and say, well, you should put the $40,000 kitchen in. Yeah, it's a good idea, but to us, it don't matter whether it's a $40,000 kitchen or a $10,000 kitchen. You're still getting the same amount of money to put that things on the wall, on my end, on my construction. So we don't care what you do as far as that's concerned. But the other structural things, it matters here. He comes back in, and the house was actually, this is a famous thing that happens in some of these cracks that we talked about. The house been sitting, they're on the marsh. They're in 1 foot footing under the ground. There's nothing underneath the footings, and when they get lifted up, now all of a sudden the house was kept on getting fixed over the last 30 years. The little crack. They keep on fixing the crack. Now the crack was that big, but now when we put it back down, everything's cracking.